Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zone Radio, and you are listening to Dodgers Baseball, a tale of two cities from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. I'm your host, Peter Trunk, and my co-hosts are Linda Wilson and Boathouse Bernie Rose. Hello, Linda. How are you?
I'm doing well, thanks.
There you go. And Bernie, how about yourself?
I'm hanging in there, doing good.
Hanging in there, doing good. That's what we all got to do. Tonight we're going to talk about Jim Gilliam, who was a Brooklyn Dodger and a Los Angeles Dodger. One of his nicknames was Junior. He played for the Dodgers from 1953 until 1966, and then he coached until his death, untimely death, in 1978. In fact, speaking of his untimely death, he died 9 days, I think, shy of his 50th birthday. That's pretty bad. But anyway, Junior Gilliam. I looked up, when I was a kid, becoming a Dodger fan, many, many times I heard Vin Scully say, and for the Dodgers, it'll be Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. And that was always it. Night after night, day after day, night after night, night after night, day after day, day after day. Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. Gilliam, Reese, and Snyder. Well, I looked up to see how many games Gilliam led off and how many games he batted second. Because when they went to L.A. and Maury Wills became their shortstop, he batted second, Gilliam did. So I looked it up, and over 1,000 games he led off, 1,037 games to be exact. And batting second, he batted second 720 times. So 1037 for leadoff and 720 for batting second. I also know, as you all know, that Junior played every single position except pitcher, catcher, and shortstop. But his top three positions were second base, third base, and left field. He mostly played second base here on the East Coast, and when the Dodgers moved to the West Coast, he played mostly third base or left field. Here, he played 1,019 games. Well, not here, but his whole career. Junior played second base 1,019 games. He started at second. He started 702 at third and 198 in left field. So he was all over the place. Gilliam quit school at a very, very young age. Some writers say as early as 14 years of age. Others say 15. Others say 16. But he did quit school at a very early age, and he played for a team called the Nashville Black Vols, short for Volunteers. There was a ball club in the Southern Association back then called the Nashville Vols, Nashville Volunteers. And the team that Junior broke in with, was the black version, if you will. The understudy of the Nashville Volunteers were called the Nashville Black Volunteers. And Junior started out with them. He was a right-handed batter, and he had a manager at the time named George Tubby Scales. And Tubby Scales took Gilliam under his wing. And one day, when he saw that Gilliam was having a lot of trouble with the curveball, he yelled out, "Hey, Junior, move to the other side." And everybody laughed because, wow, he called him Junior. So the name stuck, and he became a switch hitter. And right after that, he moved up into the Baltimore Eli Giants, where, Roy Campanella played for a bunch of years. And the rest is history, as they say. He broke in with the Dodgers in 53. And the weird thing about that is, here's a guy, he breaks in with the Dodgers in 1953 in Brooklyn. And he moves the great Jackie Robinson off of his position. at second base. He moves into third base, rendering Billy Cox no position. And Robinson moved to third. Gilliam played second base. Gilliam played 157 games at second base, 146 games at second base for the Dodgers, and he reached base in 130 of them. Imagine that. Think about that. He played 146 games. This is a rookie. Played 146 games. He reached base in 130 of those games. It's just amazing. Of course, he went on to become Rookie of the Year, and
scored 125 runs.
That's it. He scored over
a lot of runs.
The first 4 years. It is a hell of a lot of runs. And he wanted to quit after the 64 season, and the Dodgers okayed it. He was going to become a coach. But the Dodgers had injuries in 65 and 66, so Gilliam was a player coach. And he was a member of the first all-time, all-switch-hitting infield for the Dodgers in 65. Linda, can you name that infield?
Well, I should be able to. Let's see. Will's, 65, was I right? No, I can't name them all.
Okay. Bernie?
Parker and Lefebvre.
There you go. Parker, Lefebvre, Wills, and Gilliam.
Okay.
The first all-switch-hitting infield. You win the Boogie Prize, Bernie. You win the Boogie Prize. Anyway, that was a switch-hitting infield. And, of course, people that are close to the Dodgers know that they do not retire uniform numbers unless one of their former players reaches the Hall of Fame. Gilliam has the distinction of having number 19 retired, and of course he's not in the Hall of Fame. He's the only Dodger with his uniform number retired. It was retired 2 days after his untimely passing. After Junior died, 2 days later, O'Malley gave the word to never have another Dodger wear number 19. And Walter Alston, who was his manager all those years, said that Gilliam was the only player he ever managed who never missed a sign.
Wow.
I thought that was cool.
That? Wow.
Never missed a sign. Okay. All right. I have a little tidbit thing here that I'll just throw out there. When Gilliam first quit school, I guess the authorities were after him or something, and he played for the Nashville Black Vols with a under another name, Frank Willem, Willem. Some writers say it was Gilliam, Gellem, but most of them say it was Willem, Frank Willem. So he played with a fake name, and he earned his nickname Devil. He had another nickname, the Devil. He earned that nickname playing pool in spring training. He used to, after the Dodgers would work out all day long, Gilliam would shave, shower, shampoo, and all that, and go into town and put his money on the pool table and say, anybody in this place can beat the Devil? And that's how he got that nickname, Devil. That's basically all I really wanted to say. I'm going to let Bernie take over, leading off after me, to talk about Mr. James Gilliam. Bernie?
Well, a few things, I looked into. And obviously he played in a lot of World Series. And so he had a lot of postseason things happen. 7 World Series he played. Of course, 4 of them were against the Yankees. All those Brooklyn World Series, Brooklyn, New York. And there was a 1-0 game that he scored the only run on a single by Robinson that they won. I think that
1956. Clem Levine went all the way.
Right, they ended up losing. But yeah, he had a lot of interesting moments, and I just remember him mostly, from obviously the early days in L.A., but he always was, I remembered him from Brooklyn, but I was so little, but those guys always had a place with me, because they were still there. It was
Sure.
hung over. And he was a player I always watched,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and it was terrible when he passed away, so young.
That run that he scored in the sixth game of the 1956 World Series, Jackie Robinson hit the line drive over Irv Noren's head in left field, and Gilliam scored the run. That was not the only World Series game that Gilliam scored the only run of the game to beat the Yankees. He also did it in 1963. One of the games in 63 was 1-0, and Gilliam scored that run. But
I believe you are correct.
Continue on, yeah.
And in 55, he drew a walk with the bases loaded to give them the lead for good.
Game number 3.
Yeah. So there was the first run of the game, 8-5, Game 4 win. So he was instrumental in a number of games.
No doubt about it. He had a home run, righty and lefty, in the 1953 World Series as a rookie. He had a home run righty and a home run lefty in the 53 series. That's pretty good.
He finished second in the league in walks twice. He had 100 walks. In his rookie season, was it?
Yeah.
And only Musial had more. Now, that's pretty good for a rookie.
That's very good.
Tell me. And he did it again. I think Snyder had more walks than him in 56. And he had 95 walks. So, he had a great eye. He had clutch hits. He stole bases. He wasn't Maury Wills, but he was. But and he was a standout player. And that's pretty much, I just remember him still hanging on and playing with Parker and Lefebvre and Wills. Those are kind of like the glory days for me.
Yeah.
I was really, that was when I was really into the Dodgers, 12, 13, 14 years old. And anytime they were on, I had to be at the television, because I was still in New York. And they weren't.
Yeah. They still aren't.
No. And he had almost 2,000 hits, and he scored over 1,100 runs. So he had a nice little career there.
He did.
Linda, what can you add?
All I can add is because I really only remember him more as a coach because of the time frame. But it really was tough when he died because that was right during the NLCS in 1978.
Yeah.
And
right.
You remember the Dodgers that wore the 19 patches in the World Series that year? So that made I remember when they actually had eliminated Philadelphia in that playoff series, and Tommy Lasorda was in the locker room, and he said, "We did it for the devil." I'll never
right.
forget it.
That was happy and sad at the same time.
It was a very emotional moment because even if I didn't see him play, really, I still he had been there for so long, and so I knew. I knew enough about him and what he had done for the Dodgers, and it was an emotional moment to have to do that right there in the middle of the playoffs to lose your beloved coach. So something I'll always remember.
Yeah, he was some sort of ball player, boy. Often saying that he was the only player he ever managed who never missed a sign. That's quite a compliment. And there's another thing. Go ahead.
He also said he didn't hit with power. He had no arm, and he couldn't run. But he did all the little things to win ball games. He never griped or complained, and he was one of the most unselfish ball players I know. That's contributed. That's from Walter Alston. That's kind of funny, really.
When the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn to Los Angeles, one of the things that they did, I believe it was after spring training and before opening day, the Dodgers went to some sort of, I don't know, Hilton or some big hotel. They had this big function, and I don't know, it was for season ticket holders, but there were a lot of fans there. And one of the things that was going to happen was Vin Scully was going to introduce all the Dodgers to the fans. And he would say things like, ladies and gentlemen, Duke Snider, left-handed hitting center fielder. And then he would say, Gil Hodges, right-hand hitting first baseman. And he would go on and on like that, right? And when he came to Junior Gilliam, he said, ladies and gentlemen, Junior Gilliam, baseball player. Now, leave it to Vin Scully to sum up the whole thing very succinctly and perfectly, which he did when he just said, Junior Gilliam, baseball player. And that's what Junior Gilliam epitomized. He, like you said, he couldn't run, he couldn't throw, he couldn't hit for power, he couldn't field, he couldn't do anything. He could just beat you every single way, and always remain quiet and humble. And it's amazing because when he did finish playing and became a coach, he quietly wanted to become the first black manager. He never really went outside of himself and said it out openly to anyone, but his closest friends knew that he was confident in his abilities. And Maury Wills found out about it. Maury Wills was he wanted to be a manager, and Maury Wills was interviewed by Bob Prince. Bob Prince was the voice of the Pittsburgh Pirates. He went on a pregame show, Bob Prince, and Wills actually said that Gilliam did not have the faculties to become a manager, and that he himself, Maury Wills, did have them and should be named the manager. And then, of course, we all know what happened with Wills. He was named manager, and he was like blackballed almost immediately. They said he was probably the worst manager in the history of the game. He couldn't control the clubhouse. He just did everything wrong. But he actually badmouthed on the air Junior Gilliam, saying that he was not capable of becoming a manager. No, it was not good. And after all those years of Gilliam hitting with 2 strikes on him, taking all those pitches for Wills to break the stolen base records.
Right.
Yeah.
Never complained, just quietly did his job. And when Wills would be on first base, Gilliam would take the first pitch, even though he knew he could hit it. Right. He'd take the second pitch. And then Wills would finally steal second base, and Gilliam would be in the hole 0-2. What would Gilliam do? He'd hit the ball to the right side to advance Wills to third base.
Sure.
So not only did he give up the first 2 pitches, he gave up the whole at-bat for him. This is a class guy.
Yes.
A class guy. And
he was.
No one can put it better than Vin Scully by saying, Junior Gilliam, baseball player. That was it. Absolutely.
No question. And then how ironic is that Wills would I mean, he didn't last long at all, and he was...
No, he didn't, and if you look it up,
yeah.
I was old enough to really read about it at the time it was happening. But if you weren't, you could look it up. There were so many things about Wills. Now, this show isn't about Maury Wills, but there were so many negatives about Wills as a manager. It was just incredible. And, I mean, heavy stuff. I mean, really heavy stuff. Not being prepared, not being on time, just all kinds of stuff that, you figure from a prima donna ball player, not from the manager who's supposed to keep everybody in line.
Right.
And it's a shame that Junior never got the chance to manage. He probably would have been very, very good at it because he knew how to win. He was a winner. Junior Gilliam was a winner. It's as simple as that.
Yeah. And when, he was putting in his time, he became a full-time coach in 67.
Yep.
And it's too bad, 3 years later they finally won the World Series again, in 81. But he was
after he died, yeah.
Well, because they had that little 8-year drought from 66.
Yes.
They finally got back in the playoffs in 74 and then 77, 78, but they kept losing. I mean, they'd win the first round, they'd win the NLCS, but they'd lose in the World Series.
Yeah, those were those new guys. That was like the new crop of players that
exactly.
70s,
yeah, true.
He still would have been the coach. He still would have been unless he would have gotten a manager's job, I suppose.
Well,
I think he would have gotten it over Tommy. Tommy was already there. Tommy was already there. That was his first year in 77.
Yeah.
Tommy was a big self-promoter.
Oh, yeah.
Tommy was a huge self-promoter. He took, he patted himself. I'm surprised he didn't break his arm. Patted himself on the back. He took all the kudos for Garvey and Lopes and Russell and Say and Yeager. He was the one that taught them how to play the game. He was the one that made them successful. He was the one that showed them the way. Blah blah blah. This and that.
Right.
This and that. But
they
Tommy
groomed him though. That's right, because his first year was 77, and they went to the World Series those first 2 years.
Yes.
Right.
They lost, but he was 5 years at least managing AAA, right? Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't it 5 years?
Yeah.
Yes, he had.
Well, it was a bunch. It was a bunch.
And so.
I personally never liked Lasorda, even when the Dodgers were very, very successful, and he was the toast of the town, and I never could warm to him. I just couldn't warm to him. I couldn't do it. I just always knew that he was full of crap, most of the time.
Well, I've got a friend.
Well, I never looked at it that closely. Linda?
I've got
a
friend.
You?
Well, I have a friend who says the same thing, that he's phony, and that he's full of it. But you know what? I mean, he's Dodger legend. I kind of stand back and take a pretty fair view of him. See the good and the bad, and he did a lot of good, and I don't know if either one of you have ever read the book that Bill Plaschke ever wrote by him about 7 or 8 years ago, called I Live for This. Well, that was a very, very good book because it showed both sides of Tommy. It showed what he was like when he was mad and what he was like when he was good, It's like a nice,
Don't know that I read that. I read one a long time ago. It was a great book. I mean, it talked about when he was young and playing in Montreal and the minors and all the fights that he got in, and he was a crazy guy.
Yeah, he was. He won 20 games in Montreal.
That's what was that?
Oh,
one of the, was that a book that he wrote or what?
I don't. He might have been involved with it. I'm sure I still have it here somewhere, but he may have done that. With a co-writer.
Did you ever hear the interview he did? The interview that Lasorda did after Kingman hit the 2 home runs.
Who hasn't heard that? I'll remember.
If you ever get a chance to hear his post-game interview, the one that's not been censored.
Oh, I know what you mean. The unedited. Yeah, right.
The one that's not. He drops the F-bomb 133 times in 6 minutes. And I listened to it. I sent away for it a long time ago. Somebody was selling, before the internet, they used to have in the back of baseball magazines, there'd be guys that, selling old copies of Sport Magazine or whatever.
Yeah.
And this one guy was selling a tape, an uncensored tape of Tommy Lasorda.
Right.
And I said, what the heck could that ever be? Anyway, I sent away for it. It was like $5.95 or something, which was big money back then, you know. But I sent away for it anyway because it said, you know, unadulterated. So I figured, well, this could be good. I sent away for it. I put it in my cassette player and I played it. Well, I must have called all my friends for about a week and played it for them over the phone. They couldn't believe their ears. And then, wouldn't you know, right after that, I found out that there's a whole bunch of them. Earl Weaver has one where he drops the F-bomb about 100 times, and, you know, all that stuff. So it wasn't like I thought it was going to be, like, you know, it's going to be a collector's item. This is going to be worth a lot of money. It's not worth anything, you know.
Now
it's
on the internet anyway. Everybody.
Yeah, everything is on the internet now. You go to YouTube and see anything you want.
Right.
You know, or eBay and buy it, whatever it is. Well, Junior Gilliam, he was quite a ball player. And his rookie year, he won Rookie of the Year. He was led off for the Dodgers over 1,000 times, batted second over 700 times. He was a hell of a ball player. In the 1953 World Series, my oldest sister, who is, 15 years older than I am, was engaged to a fella, also lived in Brooklyn, and my parents were invited over to his parents. Could you follow that? My sister was going with a guy, so his parents invited my parents over to get to know them before the marriage or whatever. Okay, so we went over there for dinner, and I was like 6 going on 7, whatever. Anyway, why don't you go upstairs, Peter? The kitchen in the old Brooklyn home, some of them anyway, these were Polish people. Their kitchen was in the cellar, and people ate in the cellar or the bottom of the house. So upstairs was the living room, and they sent me upstairs. They said, Peter, go on upstairs and watch the Dodger game. We'll put it on the TV for you. And I said, okay. So I went upstairs. They put on the TV. Now, this guy had this gigantic TV. It was like 19 inches. It was huge. Of course, it was black and white, but it was like 19 inches. I never saw a TV that big. And I'm watching the Dodgers and the Yankees, and here comes Junior Gilliam coming up. And I'm saying to myself, I never knew he was black. 1953, his first year, and I went through the whole summer listening on the radio, I suppose, and following it in the papers, you know, the box scores and stuff. I never knew he was a black guy. And he comes up and he's black, and I go, that's Junior Gilliam? I go running downstairs, and I go to my dad, and I go, Pop, guess what? Junior Gilliam is black. He's a Negro. My father goes, you didn't know that? Everybody knows that. I said, oh, my God, I didn't know that. And I run back upstairs. I'll never forget that as long as I live. It was funny. It was funny. Memories.
Yeah.
Great memories.
No doubt.
No doubt.
It's
now
amazing.
I'm wondering, maybe that was one of the games, I can't remember, maybe that was one of the games that he actually hit a home run.
Yeah.
You know, because he hit a home run twice in the 53 series. Maybe I watched the game where he hit the home run. I don't remember that at all, though. But I do remember being kind of shocked that he was a black guy. That was cool. All right. Well, we did it. We covered James Gilliam. Anybody want to add anything before we call it a night?
Well,
go ahead, Linda, if you have something.
We're almost at the All-Star break, and I still don't know what to make of this team. You know, it's had its good flashes. It's had its good flashes, but not so much in the last couple of days.
I figure this way, Linda. I'm always going to message you and Bernie
and say
not their year. I'm going to keep that up. I'm going to play that for as long as I can. Because it seems that every time I say something negative, you know, Trace Thompson, this and that, whatever, something good happens. So I'm just going to keep saying it over and over and over and see what happens. I was under the impression a month ago, that the wild card is not going to come out of the West. Now I'm not so sure it could come anywhere.
Yeah, it could.
It could come out anywhere. So, L.A., why not L.A.?
Well, here's some interesting things that have obviously they've started to hit. The only one that's really gotten cold is Thompson. He's cooled off, but which is odd in a way. But Ryu is going tomorrow night. You knew that, Linda. I know.
Yeah,
did you know that, Peter?
No, I did not.
Ryu is starting tomorrow. McCarthy already had a start and went 5.
I know, and he did well.
Innings,
He did well.
Right, and Kershaw was cleared to at least have a catch, and his herniated disc is much improved. And so all of a sudden, if I don't know if he's going to come back right after the All-Star break. He may be out for another week or two. But if they're going to go Kershaw, Ryu, McCarthy, and Maeda, and Kazmir, that's not a bad starting staff at all.
Yeah.
But they need to get LaCroix from Milwaukee. They need a catcher who can hit.
They do. These guys are killing them. You're right.
You can't have an automatic out every time Grandal comes up. Can't do it.
No.
Not going to get you through the playoffs. No way. No way, Jose.
Both of them. They can't hit. And so.
Nope.
But everybody else has started to hit. So it's going to be very interesting. They should have won this series, though. I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I know.
They should have.
I know.
We'll see what they can do, and after the All-Star break, that's when it all starts.
We'll see what happens. I'm still looking for them to get
August
LaCroix,
are not far behind. What's that?
Yeah, I'm still looking for them to get LaCroix. They have to get LaCroix. They just got to get LaCroix. And if Turner didn't start hitting, I was looking for Valencia to play third base too. But now Turner seems to squaring up the ball a little bit better now. But LaCroix, you got to get him. Got to get him. LaCroix to me is another Paul LaDuca in his prime.
Really?
That's who LaCroix reminds me of. LaDuca in his prime.
You need to drop a note to Friedman, and I always forgetting the GM's name, but let him know this is what we need. You got to do it.
I'm sure he'll heed my note. I'm sure he will.
There you go. Absolutely.
This is Peter Trump from Tale of Two Cities. Oh, I better get on this quick. Yeah, right. Exactly.
You got to get these guys on call. Yeah, call them up. Get them on the show. We'll give them a
that's right. Yeah, that's right. Sorry, Zaida. Come on the show. Let me ask you a question. Or 2, or 10, or 50. Whatever. All right, listen. Linda has to go get her hair done. Or something or other. She said, let's get out of here at 1:15. So I'm going to do her a solid. I'm going to wrap it up. Next week we'll talk about Carl Furillo. Do your homework. I'll see you on the computer. Good health to both of you, and thank you for your effort tonight. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for the stories, because I learned a lot about Junior that I didn't know. So thank you guys for both sharing this.
Fantastic.
You're quite welcome.
Always a pleasure.
Yes.
Thanks again.
All right.
And, we'll talk soon.
All right. Okay. Good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care.